Hello, my name is Mel Vance. I'm a 25-year veteran with the Royal Canadian Regiment.
What was your rank in the
I was a
military?
warrant officer. The last 9 years of my service, which were mostly spent in CFB Gagetown here, I was a warrant officer throughout that time.
So you said you served for 25 years. You probably did some hopping around, I assume. Where else have you served in Canada? Like what other bases have you been to?
Not a lot of movement. I joined in January of 1985. My first posting was to London, Ontario, with the Royal Canadian Regiment, the First Battalion, and I got there in July of '85. I got my basic para course in January of '86. I got posted in July of '86 to the Canadian Airborne Regiment, where I spent 6 years. And the time that I spent in Petawawa in them 6 years, one RCR, which was in London, had already moved to CFB Petawawa, and I was getting promoted, and I got posted out of the Canadian Airborne Regiment across the road to the 1st Battalion again, and stayed there until the spring of 1999. And then in 1999, I got posted to the 2nd Battalion Royal Canadian Regiment at CFB Gagetown here.
Okay, and you were there the rest of your career.
From '99 until I retired in 2009 due to a couple of injuries that I had.
Okay, so what inspired you to join the military? What was it, like a family thing? Was your dad in the military?
Yeah, we have a long history of people who served in the military. My great grandfather, but I think it was I joined militia when I was in high school, and I wasn't much into school. And when I joined the Nova Scotia Highlanders when I was in high school, it was an infantry unit, and I really liked the esprit de corps that I have with other people that you serve with. And I knew from that time until I graduated that that's what I wanted to do. So when I put my name in 1984, I knew going in exactly what I wanted to do. And even though that I qualified for other trades, my number one choice was serving in the infantry. And
I respect that you went with your heart. You know what I mean?
I enjoyed it. It's physical. Like I'm from a small, town in Nova Scotia, living out in the woods, and I love doing that. So I love being out in the field. I love being active. So yeah, and then not only the field part, but you get to enjoy other things with the same people that you're out training or going on tours with in different sports. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
So just like give us a little insight for like your service overseas. Like you've done tours.
I've done 2 tours. I've done one with the 1st Battalion when I was in Petawawa in 1994-95. I was a sergeant on that tour, and then I went on tour in Africa on the border of Ethiopia and Eritrea in 2001. And due to a serious injury that I got shortly after that tour, that basically cut my military career. When I broke my hip, because of my rank, I was a warrant officer at the time, they thought that they could use my knowledge with a vehicle that I was attached to, or that I was closely involved with since it come off the assembly line in London, Ontario, the Lav 3. So I got posted to the training center in CFB Gagetown, to the infantry school, and I was standards warrant officer there for 8 years. And basically you're taking care of the Lav 3 and the 25 millimeter chain gun that's inside that vehicle, and you're responsible for not only the training plan, which is the Bible of what all the units go by across Canada, all the infantry units, so the Vandus, the PPCLI, and the RCRs, and other units also. I'm responsible for keeping that training plan up to date. I'm responsible for making sure that the different units across Canada adhere to that training plan. So I would travel a lot to Petawawa, Edmonton, and making sure that they follow the training plan.
Definitely an interesting gig then, for sure.
Yeah, well,
Gets you out and about too.
well, yeah, like when I first broke my hip, the first thing you think about is what are you going to do, because I was still in my late 30s or early 40s, and you're still, when you're given a job like that, you're still, out with the troops, even though they're not my troops anymore, but you're out in the field and, you're maintaining that a certain amount of esprit de corps with the people that you don't necessarily know, but you're in the same training mode as them and so on and so forth. So I really enjoyed it. I was thankful to the regiment for sending me there and allowing me to get my 25 years in. And like I said, I do it all over again.
How did you hurt your hip?
It was away from work, and it was. I've had some bad injuries. I've had ligament replacement in my left knee. I've had a hip, broken hip, which I just got it replaced about 18 months ago. I had bilateral Achilles tendon ruptures. I've got a whole host. Yeah, I've got a whole host of injuries. So I didn't get released for one of them. I got released from multiple injuries, but for the hip itself, I've hurt away from home, away from work.
Okay. Yeah. Did you play much sports in the
Lots. Yeah. Like I played a lot of fastball, slow pitch, broom ball, all at the national level. Like you obviously playing inter-unit. When you're on base is your own unit teams, but what they do is they take the best players of all of them unit teams and they make base teams that go against other base teams at a national level. So they normally right now all the nationals were held at CFB Borden. So each base would travel there once a year for their sport, whether it be golf, fastball, slow pitch, whatever it is, and you would compete for a national championship. So have a lot of people around the country, both out west, Quebec, Eastern Canada, that I know from sports.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, like I said, enhances that sense of camaraderie.
100%. It's just another way of doing it, type of thing.
What kind of stresses come along with having a family and also being actively serving in the military?
Well, I've never really, as a father of two, I was always worried about, how the boys were going to be when I was away, or how my wife was going to do while I was away. We've had close working relationships we've had close personal relationships among the soldiers with wives. So I knew that the family back home were taken care of. They had a strong support system. And I just had to make sure that myself and the soldiers that I had working under me were all right while we were away. And you had your time to call home, you had letters to write and so on and so forth. And it was always a means to stay in contact. The hardest part is when the boys got a little bit older, especially my oldest son. It was a lot harder for him to hear things that were going on. We had a couple of mine strikes when I was in Africa, and he hears things at school and
stresses him out.
Yeah, it was very hard on him, and almost I don't wish harm on myself, but I almost am glad that the injury happened when it did, because I seen the effect that it had on him when I was in Africa in 2000.
And just like the potential, like being in situations like that, like the risk of your potential future in a career like that, like how much you do put at risk and how much you are potentially losing back home, right? Like it's definitely something that would weigh on you.
Yeah, and again, I never really thought about it that way. I looked at it that long as my family had a strong support system while I was away, and I was taking care of myself and my troops, that was my train of thought until I get home back with family again, and then whatever we needed to do to get back online, back home with the kids. But again, I can't overemphasize the support that both of my boys had with friends of mine back home that took them to sports, that were a fatherly figure to them, and then people that I would trust with my life. Like they are lifelong friends of mine, and they know who they are to this day. So that was always where my train of thought was. My train of thought was never, anything outside of that. I think you would just get sidetracked, and when you're away, you just don't want to do that.
Yeah, of course, you want to be vigilant, right?
Right.
Be ready to go all the time.
Exactly.
So I guess another question I have is, what would you say in a positive light? What are the things that the military has brought to your life that you think are most valuable things?
Oh, it's insurmountable. Like it turns you grow into an adult very fast. And you always say to yourself later on in life when you're getting ready to retire is, I said to myself, where does Mel Vance fit into the civilian world? 25-year veteran in the infantry. And you don't know your value until you actually put yourself out there. And then you realize the value that you have. Like, I've got multiple offers when I retired of working in different places. I did go back to work for a while with National Security with Public Safety Canada, and worked there another 10 years. But to point it down into one thing, I don't think you can. When you talk about leadership, work ethic, be able to get along with different, you can imagine the amount of different people that you work with in the military.
Yeah.
I just think all those things together, and then you look at the different people that you've worked for and worked with, you try to take a little piece of every one of them people, hopefully all for the good. It's never that way,
Yeah.
but you try your best to do that. But when you see some maybe people that you didn't want to lead like that, or you didn't want to be a person like that, compared to somebody else where you had a lot of respect for, and you've seen the way they got things done, and how they did it was very minimal because the people that work for them respect them enough to get the job done.
Yeah, so it's like you're constantly surrounded by good role models.
100%.
Yeah. I want to know, when you see the Canadian flag, what does the Canadian flag represent to you, and how does it affect you when you see it?
Canadian flag to me would be home, and I think a lot about the people that lost their lives that were friends of mine over the years, and considering you served 25 years in the military, you obviously, people laid their life on the line for their country, and obviously that flag is an important part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a twofold thing. One, it means home to me, obviously, but just as importantly as a military member, it's a sacred symbol of people, for people that have served and have given their lives.
Yeah. Well, Mel, we really appreciate the insight and the light that you've shed on the military, and I appreciate you meeting with us. This is the second installment of The Visual Veteran by Spicy Boys. This is Mel Vance, a friend of mine that I met through poker, but also a 25-year veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm Dylan Gaudette from Spicy Boys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe. The Vicious Veteran is on sale now. 50% of the profits go to Soldier On. Soldier On is an organization within the Canadian Armed Forces that helps rehabilitate men and women that come back from overseas and have done military service with issues like PTSD and other mental health illnesses. A really great organization, something that we're very proud to partner with and support. So please, if you have the extra money, or even just a share, as much visibility for the Vicious Veteran as possible. And very proud to be able to support Soldier On, and very appreciative of you, Mel, for taking your time today to sit with us and chat on video.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank
brother.
you. Thank you.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode, which is definitely going to be an Enter the Skullful Sphere episode. So stay spicy. See y'all in a bit.